Hello everyone, this is Jack Fisher, and today I will be giving a presentation on the Parkland school shooting. So, the Parkland school shooting was a school shooting in Florida at the high school Stoneman Douglas. This shooting occurred on Valentine's Day, which is February 14th, 2018. This shooting was committed by none other than Nicholas Cruz, who was 19 years old at the time, and he's now 21. So that is what I will be doing my presentation on. So as I said, the school shooting took place at Parkland High School, Stoneman Douglas Majority High School in Florida. This shooting occurred on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2018, between 2:21 p.m. and 2:27 p.m. These are the time parameters where the shooting actually occurred rather than when he was caught. He was caught a couple hours later in the day in a park in a nearby neighborhood, which I will get into that later in my presentation. A semi-automatic rifle was used to open fire upon these students as the fire alarm was pulled to get the students evacuated and to keep going to create a mass chaos so he could kill as many people as possible. He didn't necessarily have any specific targets, but he just wanted to wreak havoc on this school because he did not like how his fellow classmates at the time when he went to school, he did not like they treated him for his way of life and how he acted, which, yeah. Okay, so this was the deadliest high school shooting, as it surpassed Columbine, which Columbine happened in 1999, and only 15 people were killed. While in this school shooting, 17 people were killed. And Columbine happened in Colorado in April 1999. And there was some early precautions that the police should have taken, noticing that this guy was he wasn't right in the head. He was not right. He literally gave the police some options to where he was going to show that he could be a school shooter. Because in early 2016 and 2017, police had received multiple tips that a YouTube channel with the username Nicholas Cruz, which is the suspect's name, the person who was convicted for the school shooting, had posted a video saying he would become a school shooter. Which this is very not right, and this is very unordinary for someone like this to do something like that. So So that is very odd as it is, so why would the police not do anything? And during this, and the police also have received tons of calls to the household about domestic abuse, many other things like that. So there were some very precautionary things that the police should have done, but they didn't do it. They ignored such things about Nicholas Cruz rather than taking action. So, in January 2018, the FBI were contacted because of death threats that Cruz supposedly made towards a person, but the local FBI office did not do anything about this. After the shooting, people were very angry because of the loopholes that allowed Cruz to legally purchase these weapons. Even though he was not a very smart person, he did everything he could on the internet to make sure it was hard to trace back who bought the weapons and how he bought the weapons. He is a very troubled individual, and the shooting could have been prevented if the police closed these loopholes, for one, in him buying the weapon, and also noticing that he was a troubled individual from the start. So, as I said, the crime was committed by Nicholas Cruz when he was 19, now a 21-year-old male who was born on September 24th, 1998 in Florida. He was adopted at birth by the Cruz family, so he wasn't born into the Cruz family. He was adopted by them right away at birth. Both of his parents died, Roger Cruz in 2004 at age 67, and Linda Cruz at age 68 in November of 2017. This left Nicholas Cruz an orphan with his brother 3 months before the massacre occurred. His younger brother, Zachary, will later identify him on the security camera footage at the school for the crime. The sheriff office in Cruz's hometown had received many calls, up to 45 log calls, about Cruz and his family between 2008 and 2017, but never did anything. As I said earlier, he grew up in a troubled household. Calls would range from domestic disturbance, hitting his mom, etc. He even got a call once about people. He shot a cat with a pellet gun, which and the police never acted on these calls. This is the school and the entrance and his path of exit and entrance within the school. This is another diagram of what happened. He was found in the Corporal Springs on the bottom right here. This is where Cruz was arrested as he was found in a nearby park by a policeman. So yeah. Okay. This is Cruz himself. Now the victims. The victims were Alyssa Aldorf, 14, Jamie Gutenberg, she was also 14, Kara Logren, 14, Gianna Montallo, 14, Elena Petty, 14, Meadow Pollock, 18, Elena Ramsey, 17, and Carmen Schettentrop, 16. So that means there was 8 girls that were killed. Then there's 3 staff members that were killed: Scott Bygel, 35, Aaron Feast, 37, and Chris Hickson, 49. That means that all the staff members were killed either trying to save students or stop the gunman himself. Then there were 6 boys killed: Martin Duke, who was 14, Nicholas Dwart, who was 17, Luke Hoyer, who was 15, Joaquin Oliver, who was 17, Alex Shader, who was 14, and Peter Wang, who was 15. Aaron Feast, one of the staff members, was killed while shielding 2 students from the gunman. So he draped over the students and he was saving them as he was killed. Peter Wang was last seen in his JROTC uniform, helping students escape the building by holding the door open, and was later honored by the president himself, Donald Trump, as once he was killed after the shooting. Alyssa Aldorf was a soccer captain at the school, and she was honored by the women's national soccer team for her efforts in trying to save her fellow classmates. Some survivors are dealing with survivor's guilt and PTSD, as this is a very traumatic event, and some of them have even committed suicide because of this traumatic event that they had to go through in their lives, and especially because of the school shooting. The victims were chosen. There was no really specific way the victims were chosen, because he just wanted to kill as many people as he could. He pulled the fire alarm to create a mass hysteria for the students to come out the classroom so there could be a ton of students in the hallway and he could just open fire. This is what he did, and in this case there was no real like specific way where he targeted people. He just wanted to kill as many people as possible, which is crazy, which leads to me to believe he's a psychopath rather than having a specific vendetta against a person. So here, here I will talk about the diagram of the crime scene. Go to the video in a second. Go back to the pictures over here. So, Cruz enters building 12 and went down the hallway after pulling the fire alarm. He went into a staircase. As he entered the staircase, he saw a student and told him to get out of there and run before he shot up anything. So the student opened the door and got out and ran. In classrooms 1210, 1213, 1214, 1215, 1216 were all shot into as Cruz was walking through the hallways. He injured one person in room 1210. He killed 5 people in the hallway and on the staircase. In room 1213, he killed 1 person and injured 3. In room 1214, 4 people were injured and 2 people were killed. In room 1215, no one was killed, as 3 people were shot right outside the classroom door. In room 1216, 5 people were injured and 3 people were killed. Now, this crime was a very, very swift crime, as it only took upwards of 6 minutes for Nicholas Cruz to kill this many people, as he was caught later in the day, but it only took him 6 minutes to kill 17 people. So at 2:19, Nicholas Cruz arrives at Stoneman Douglas High School via an Uber. So he took an Uber, and the Uber driver thought his rifle case was just a guitar case, so they thought nothing about it. So then at 2:21, Cruz enters the building 12, walking into a stairwell with a black rifle bag. Within 15 seconds of walking into the stairwell, he opens fire on multiple classrooms and the hallway. Then at 2:22 p.m., the fire alarm is pulled, which causes the students to begin evacuating. This is when the first 911 call happens. At 2:23, the school resource officer, Deputy Scott Peterson, issued a radio alert warning of shots fired in 1200 building. At first, he thought it was firecrackers, but then he realized it was actual gunshots. Peterson then decides to stay at the corner outside the 1200 building and does not go in. This lack of action receives heavy criticism, makes Mr. Peterson receive heavy criticism as he did not do anything to help the students that were dying inside. At 2:28 p.m., Cruz exits the school building and runs south to the tennis courts. He blends in with all the students as the crowd is evacuating because they think it's a fire. At 2:32, 6 total police officers finally enter the building, just 13 minutes after the gunman has entered the building. And this also received a lot of criticism because they waited to go in rather than to stop the crime earlier. 4 Coral Springs police officers enter the building and 2 Brown Ward County police officers enter the building. Cruz walks into a Walmart, and then at 2:50 p.m., Cruz walks into a Walmart and buys a drink at the Subway restaurant inside and leaves that Walmart on foot. At 3:01 p.m., Cruz enters a McDonald's restaurant, sits down for a couple of minutes, then leaves again from that restaurant on foot. At 3:41 p.m., an officer from the Coconut Creek Police Department arrests Cruz in a nearby neighborhood. At 6:27 p.m., Brown Ward County Sheriff Scott Israel announces 17 people dead, and Cruz is the primary suspect. The next day, Cruz appears in court and is charged with 17 counts of capital murder and 17 counts of attempted first-degree murder. This is him in the courtroom. This is a picture of him when he was 19. Cruz had various social media accounts and financial accounts that he used to purchase the guns. He had researched mass shootings online, which is easily trackable through your search history. And this was another red flag that the police did not act on. He posted deadly threats, not normally, but he did before, and the police also did not act on this. Financial records show that he was subscribed to multiple gun-related magazines. His brother confirmed that it was Cruz from the surveillance footage cameras within the school. Police found a phone at the crime scene that had an Uber request, which was his phone that he dropped at the crime scene that obviously states that he took an Uber to get to the school. Cruz had up to 9 Gmail accounts that the police department found out about. Police used security cameras to track Cruz and his movements from the school. 3 cell phone videos were found about a girl he liked and how he did not like how his classmates patronized him when he went to the school. Using this forensic evidence of surveillance cameras and the phones and his Gmail accounts and his email accounts that he left, the police were able to locate and find Cruz and to arrest him with charges of his murder. Now I'm going to show a video of how showing footage from the crime.
Security failures in the Parkland school massacre.
Now, this as chilling images emerge of the accused shooter inside Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School during the attack. ABC's Ariel Reshef is here with the details on that. Ariel, good morning.
Good morning to you guys. Those images from inside the high school showing the moments leading up to that deadly rampage and a series of apparent security failures by police and school officials. A warning: if there are children in the room, the content here may be disturbing.
Possible shots fired at Stoneman Douglas High School.
This morning, chilling images and 911 calls from the Parkland massacre, painting a timeline of terror. 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz seen here loading an AR-15 in the hallway of Stoneman Douglas High School as a frightened freshman walks past. The Sun-Sentinel reporting that according to that freshman, Cruz telling him, "You'd better get out of here. Things are going to start getting messy." Moments later, Cruz killing 17 students and staff.
Oh my God!
The release of surveillance videos and audio, all part of a scathing draft report from a Florida State Commission, shining a light on a host of fateful security missteps.
If we can't protect our children in schools, then who can we protect?
Doors unlocked, the gates open, allowing Cruz to get inside undetected.
He got into the 1200 building because that door was unlocked and unstaffed, and that we say that that is a security failure.
A campus security monitor failing to call a code red after seeing Cruz carrying a rifle bag. The report saying the spray of bullets set off a fire alarm, sending panicked students and teachers out of their classrooms to escape. This picture capturing kids trapped helplessly in a crammed hallway. Meanwhile, cameras showing school resource officer Deputy Scott Peterson waiting outside on his radio instead of trying to stop the gunman.
I think we got shots fired. Possible shots fired.
In this video, you can see that this devastating attack occurred because there was no like he just got into the school undetected, as the video said, because there was no officers, the doors weren't locked. So this made the nation ramp up in school security as soon after this devastating attack occurred. So Cruz was found in a neighborhood close to the school. The Coconut Creek officer Michael Leonard was the first to identify and capture Cruz. He combed through nearby neighborhoods in order to find him, and Michael Leonard grew up around this area, and he knew all the side streets, and he knew all the areas, and it was just him. And in one of the articles I was reading, it said it was just him and Cruz on the road, and Cruz was taken aback when Michael Leonard tried to arrest him, and he was just dumbfounded on how he found him so fast. He was deemed a hero by the mayor, and he was a family man, and he was deemed a hero by the mayor, and he didn't really like the spotlight, so he didn't think he was a hero. But in the end, he was a very good person for catching Cruz. Donald Trump and Melania Trump came to visit him and commended him for his actions on the matter. The trial has not yet begun because his defense team offered a guilty plea for life in prison with no parole if the death penalty was taken off the table. This agreement was obviously denied, and which means the defense offered to do 34 life sentences with no parole, which is roughly over 400 years in prison, which means he would obviously be in prison for the rest of his life, but they just wanted to take the death penalty off the table. This means that a lengthy trial will occur because they did not reach agreement on that case. So since the trial has not started, there's no final sentence yet. People are conflicted whether or not to issue life in prison or the death penalty because of the amount of killing he has done. Either way, it is one of the deadliest either way, it is the deadliest school shooting in school history. So, an overview of Nicholas Cruz is that he never excelled in school, and he even took special education courses his entire life. He lived in a bad home environment, and even left hints at a possible shooting. All of this led to the massacre at Stoneman Douglas High School. Overall, I believe that Nicholas Cruz committed a heinous crime, and here's Michael Leonard right here. And Cruz should be reprimanded for his actions, even though, and I feel like it could have been prevented because the police ignored many red flags that Cruz brought up. And the forensic evidence used was greatly helped officers find him and locate him during the crime or after the crime by tracking down his social media accounts, finding about how he found the gun, and using surveillance footage to track him down into the nearby neighborhood. Overall, this crime killed 17 people, and he has affected the lives of many others, causing PTSD for many other people. And the forensic evidence used in this crime helped capture Nicholas Cruz and will eventually send him to prison or the death penalty for the rest of his life. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you have a good day.